It's a pivotal game this Sunday for your Seattle Seahawks as they take on the Minnesota Vikings, week number 16 in the National Football League. The run to the playoffs reaching its final stretch. Seattle comes in off the loss to Green Bay at 8-6. The Vikings with a win on Monday night. They're playing on a short week after beating the Chicago Bears. Travel to Seattle. The Vikings, about 3-point favorites. The over-under set at 43.5. Coming up on today's show, we'll go over my keys to a Seattle victory. We'll also break down the injury report, and I'll give you my prediction as well coming up at the end of today's show. Let's begin with a look at the updated playoff picture heading into the weekend. The Lions hold that number one spot at 12-2. The Vikings with the same record. The Vikings battling with Detroit for home field advantage in the NFC and a division title in the NFC North. The Eagles at 12-2. They're still in contention for that number one seed. The Bucs at 8-6 at number 3. The Rams at 8-6 at number 4. Seattle 8-6 as well, but they're on the outside right now. Seattle could finish as high as the number 3 seed potentially in the playoff picture if everything goes their way. And then you have Green Bay at 10-4. The Commanders at 9-5. Pretty much for Seattle, their path to the playoff is by winning the division. It would be very difficult at this point for them to make the playoffs as a wild card team at this point in time. If you're ready for a Seahawks win, spam S in the comment section. I need at least 300 S's as if we are loud and proud at Lumen Field. Look, people are talking a lot about Lumen Field, saying that, hey, it's not what it used to be and all that. Well, let's make our voices heard loud and clear. Spam S in the comment section, and we'll get going with today's show. Let's begin with the injury report. And this is as of our recording on Wednesday's live show where things stand. Brady Russell with a foot injury, questionable. Trey Brown with a hamstring injury, questionable as well. Olu with a knee injury, questionable. Kenneth Walker III with a calf injury, questionable. But I would think this is the week he returns. And Geno did participate in practice on Wednesday. Questionable with that knee. I would think Geno is going to be good to go. He seemed pretty optimistic in a call with Mike Macdonald on Monday. Stephon Gilmore, the corner from the Vikings, with a hammy. He is questionable, as is Brian O'Neill, the offensive tackle spot, with a knee injury. He's questionable. And then one of my favorite stories in the NFL this year, Jalen Redmond, former Oklahoma Sooner. He dealt with a lot of adversity throughout his career as he dealt with blood clots when he was at OU. Had to step away from football for a bit, went undrafted, went to the UFL. He's had a breakout season. He is questionable with a concussion, so the Vikings might be without one of their best defensive players there. What's it going to take to defeat the Minnesota Vikings this week? Let's go over our keys to victory now. Let's start with JSN, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He is getting very, very close to 1,000 yards receiving. I want a big game from JSN, and I want him to reach that milestone for the first time in his career, and I think he's got a great opportunity to do it this week. He's been the hot hand. He has gone 7 straight games, folks, with at least 4 catches for a nice total of 69 receiving yards. He has been on fire. Even if, for whatever reason, Geno can't play, or if it's Sam Howell, whoever it is, they need to get the ball to JSN. Just 6 yards away from reaching that 1,000 mark, leading this team in yards, in receptions. He's got 5 touchdowns. He's played at a Pro Bowl caliber. JSN going to be very important for this Seahawks team to come through to get the job done. The offense basically runs through JSN now. He's going to need to have a big day. Who do you got? You going with the Hawks? Or are you going with the Vikings? Type C for Seattle. Type men for Minnesota. Get your predictions in and let us know who you think gets the job done. We'll be live this Sunday here on Seahawks Today for Seahawks and Vikings. Our coverage will begin just after 12 noon Pacific time, 3 Eastern, with our hour-long pregame show. Big Tex is going to join me, and you better be here as well as we get you ready for kickoff. We'll be live throughout the game, reacting to it in real time, have a few drinks on hand. You won't want to miss out. We'll do some Super Chat giveaways, get a little early start to the Christmas holiday right here on Seahawks Today. Season greetings to you. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and we'll see you right here on Sunday afternoon. Number 2, get after Sam Darnold. Much has been made about Seattle's offensive line this year. And what makes this matchup, I think, pretty interesting, not just the fact that both these teams are playing for their playoff picture and all, but they have a very similar problem, and that is awful offensive line play. Sam Darnold has been sacked 42 times this season. That's the 4th most of any quarterback in the NFL. Geno's 3rd, by the way, for those wondering at home. And Sam Darnold is coming off a not-so-great performance against the Chicago Bears this past week. Granted, the Vikings won, and they won in convincing fashion, but it wasn't necessarily the day that Darnold was hoping for by any stretch. If I'm Seattle, I'm doing what I can to just make life hell for Sam Darnold, force him into some sacks, into some pressure, some interceptions, really just rattle his cage, as Dale Earnhardt would say back in the day. And we know that they have the pass rushers to do it, but can Seattle put it together? Because it's been very inconsistent. Leonard Williams, just a few weeks ago, looked like one of the best defensive players on the planet. Now he's kind of tapered off a little bit here. Derek Hall was leading in this team in sacks for a long time. He looked great. Now he's kind of slowed down. Boye, it's been a disappointing 3rd season after leading this team in sacks a year ago. Draymond Jones, we can never rely on. Jaron Reed's not bad. But you got plenty of guys that can do it. But they've shown inconsistencies with getting the job done. I want to see these guys step up on that front. Number 3, we mentioned earlier, it sounds like K9 will be back this week. But that doesn't mean that Seattle should forget that Zach Charbonnet is still on this roster too. In fact, I'll say this. I don't think that Charbonnet should necessarily start over Kenneth Walker, but I do think that his role should still be a big one for this Seahawks team. He's averaging more yards per carry, about just over a half yard more, compared to his teammate Kenneth Walker III. And they both have been playing behind the same bad offensive line, and Charbonnet has got better results so far this season. He's got more touchdowns, more yards per carry, also hasn't fumbled it as well. In a perfect world, you get them both involved, and they both play at a high level. But just because K9 is likely to come back doesn't mean that that should, by any stretch, make Zach Charbonnet MIA. And we know that he can be effective in the receiving game as well. Who gets more carries? Who should get more carries? K9 or Zach Charbonnet? Type K9 for Kenneth Walker. Type Zach for Zach Charbonnet. Weigh in, let us know in the comments section. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sport events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, you don't want to pass up on it. They have their seat views and get the visual, see what that seat is like. You can also customize your seat as well. Choose the event you want to go to, Seahawks game, Kraken game, anything in Seattle. Maybe you want to head down to Portland and go see the Blazers in action. You can do that with Game Time too. And then you choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not. Then you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Game Time, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks Today. All right, number 4 on our keys to victory. Without a shadow of a doubt, the best player on the field for any team this Sunday will be Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. He is arguably the best receiver in football. He is well on his way to being a Hall of Famer. He is that one-of-one type guy. There's good receivers, there's great receivers, and then there's Justin Jefferson. He's just on another level. And so far this season, new quarterback and all, right? Bad offensive line. Justin Jefferson's still doing his thing. He hasn't missed a beat at all this season. Second in receiving yards, 10th in catches, 6th in targets, 5th in receiving touchdowns. Already has over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 82 catches, 15.2 yards per reception. And I'll say this. I've heard a lot of you about Rick Woolen as of late. And we've seen Rick Woolen. It's been a lot of peaks and valleys this year, right? We've seen Rick look really good, and then weeks like last week where he looks really bad. And this is, without question, his toughest assignment yet. How will he shut down Justin Jefferson? Jefferson's going to get his. It's really how will you limit him? With the double teams, are you going to get Witherspoon or Julian Love involved? Is Kobe Bryant going to be out there? What can you do to minimize the impact of Justin Jefferson? It's going to be crucial. Last but not least, protecting the quarterback. And this is more so about the offensive line as a whole. The offensive line's just got to do a better job. I mean, last week was just atrocious. It didn't matter if it was Sam Howell or Geno Smith. I mean, it was just painful. 7 sacks given up last week. Lumea was just horrendous. A 1.6 pass block grade. Laken Tomlinson was horrible. Sundell was terrible. Olu and his limited snaps wasn't very good as well. Just horrendous. And Mike Macdonald, he wants this team to be able to run the football, not have to pass so much and protect the quarterback a bit. But the offensive line's got to get going to give them the chance to run the football. Macdonald said this week. We wanted to run it more in the Packers game for sure. We didn't get as many runs as we thought, particularly because of circumstance. But there were some opportunities in the game that we both, he and Grubb, felt like runs could have been better utilized. We're going to learn from those, but we're on the same page on how we're calling games and all that. But absolutely, we need to get our run game going. So if the run game is going to get going, if Geno's going to do his thing, the offensive line's got to get to work. They got to protect the quarterback. They got to get a push. They got to do all those things to open up everything else. We cannot let what happened last week happen again, for goodness sakes. Before I get to my game prediction, let's hear from you now. Who will be Seattle's MVP against the Minnesota Vikings? If you had one player name, offense or defense, either one, who would it be? Weigh in, let us know in the comments section. To recap our keys to a Seattle victory, let's get JSN to 1,000 yards. Let's get him a big day. Get after Sam Darnold and that awful Vikings offensive line. Lean on Charbonnet a bit. Whether K9's there or not, don't forget that Charbonnet's there. Take away Justin Jefferson, at least limit his impact anyway to an extent. And then protect the quarterback. Offensive line's going to do their part. If Seattle does their part, if they can do these things, I feel pretty good they can bounce back this week. Maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I think Seattle can find a way. It's a game they badly need. You got to win 2 of the next 3. One of them's got to be against the Rams. But then you go on the road for a short week against Chicago here. I think they can do something this week. It might not be pretty, but they can find a way to get it done. Give me the Hawks 23-20. If you're ready for a Seahawks win, spam W in the comments section. Let's hear from all the 12s out there. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you on Sunday right here for Seahawks and Vikings here on Seahawks Today.